the Willits City Council meeting of December 9th, 2020 to order. And Kathy, if you could lead us in the pledge.
I will do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Councilmember Connie.
Present.
Rodriguez.
Present.
Strong.
Here.
Stransky.
Yes.
Mayor Gonzalez.
Present. All right, thank you. So due to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Orders N2520, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act and the order of the Health Officer of the County of Mendocino to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the City Council members will be participating by teleconference, video conference in the regular meeting of December 9th, 2020. All right, first of all, before we do anything, we have a special presentation to our city manager. Stephanie is going to be retiring, and I kind of want to put some context in this because for a while we're going to have two city managers, but I want to explain that is that Stephanie gave us a lot of notice so that we were able to look for her successor, and actually on the call today also Brian Bender, and basically she will be basically burning off leave till March, and then at which point she will start her retirement. And so I want to congratulate her, and I'm going to be, well, I guess the city will be presenting her with a flag. This is such a weird time, ladies and gentlemen, that we are having to do things via, let's call it Zoom, but this is something else we're using, GoToMeeting, and that staff's going to hand her some flowers and the plaque, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. Presented to Stephanie Garabrandt Sierra in appreciation of your years of dedicated service to the City of Willits, March 15, 2018 to March 14, 2021, presented by the City of Willits. Retirement, not the end of the road, the beginning of an open highway. And so I want to congratulate Stephanie on taking that next step in her life. I'm sure she'll continue being busy. She's a talented individual. And tonight, I want to kind of name off a couple things that she's done for us, and Madge is going to be speaking also, and then I believe some other folks want to speak. But Madge and me were both the mayors the last 4 years, and so that's the reason we're speaking. So I just, number one, when Measure B came down, and Stephanie was real quick to kind of help us mobilize and get us involved, because frankly, kind of put the city spin on this is that we haven't rejected anything, but we wanted to make sure that the county didn't push through something that the city of Willits residents hadn't had a chance to weigh in on. And so myself and Larry have been attending those meetings and coming back and reporting here, or having folks from the Measure B folks. I mean, I think it accomplished a lot of what we wanted, which was to get Measure B folks coming down and be more engaged with the city. She worked with, I tell you, this has been a trying couple years. We've had fires and public safety power shutoffs, and she's worked with PG&E, and now we've got a PG&E, I guess, comes and sets up a generator at City Hall and all that. She's helped with that. Basically, she's also kind of worked with, kind of contracted out our airport management, and now Kathy and others are running that up there, and so it's back in-house. She worked during our fire issue where we thought we might have to evacuate the city. She was there attending meetings, working with city staff to make sure we were prepared. And I guess another thing, PG&E funds for undergrounding Cider Park. I think that all started, if I remember right, when I was chief. Larry was still talking about that from before, and so now there's funds in place that will pay for some of that, and we didn't lose them like some cities did. So then I guess we push forward with alternate water sources. You know, we started out with a drought, and we have fires, everything. Like I said, I think just short of the 7 horsemen of the apocalypse here, we've had fire, and I think pestilence and bugs are the only thing we haven't had. And also, she's managed our COVID response for the city. I mean, it ain't the best of times, folks. I guess it's not the best of times, not the worst of times, I guess. But Matt, so I guess at this point I'm going to pass it on to Madge and let Madge speak.
Okay. Well, it's been a very, very busy 3 years that Stephanie's been leading our city as city manager. And so I'm going to kind of go through some things relatively quickly, but I just don't want people to forget all these amazing things that happened. So one of them was that Main Street was actually relinquished to the city. And now, starting in January, we're going to be doing some upgrades with the pavers in city trees on Main Street. That's a huge thing. She also has helped in securing the $6.5 million Rails to Trails grant, and also working on the Great Redwood Trail that someday will come to fruition, with Willits being the send-off place for it, which is going to be an amazing thing. Both of those are going to bring some wonderful recreational opportunities to our city. She initiated the refinancing of the sewer bonds and thereby saved our sewer fund about $2 million over several years. But that was, her, identifying the need to do that, and because the rates were so favorable, we saved a lot of money. She also completely initiated and accomplished the Music in the Parks series, which was really fun, and if it weren't for COVID, we would probably still be doing it. But I hope that we get a chance to do it again. And all of the Music in the Park concerts were at no cost to the city. It was, she raised money from private sources, and it was great. There's been an urban forestry grant that is enabling us to plant trees all around the city. She helped accomplish the cannabis tax, which has brought in tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to the city, and has also blossomed some wonderful, very competent businesses in our city, improving employment opportunities as well. Recently, we bought the solar array up at the water plant, and again, over the next few years, that's going to save us quite a bit of money instead of having a private enterprise actually own that facility and charge us what turned out to be not very favorable rates. Measure K, which just passed by an overwhelming majority in the November election, was a crowning accomplishment, and because of that, the city is going to be able to stay in business, and we're going to be facing decisions about how to balance our budget rather than how to go out of business and essentially, have no reserves left and not be able to function. So instead, we are a going business here in the city. That was huge. With her help, the planning, community development department and others have been working towards trying to get a watershed conservation easement up at our reservoir land, which is a beautiful area of land. And the conservation easement would help preserve that area, but it would also give us a huge, actually a potential income every year from the benefits of having an easement on it. That basically means we won't ever develop it, and we don't want to ever develop it. She helped settle the Brook Trails lawsuit that was sort of hanging over our heads about how to divide up the cost of our sewage treatment plant, and other legal claims. And under her, with her assistance and direction, we're also working. We accomplished 2 housing updates, our housing element, and we're going to be working on sphere of influence and eventually annexation that will help us provide housing opportunities in our city. And that doesn't even touch on things like the public works accomplishments, the number of streets that have been paved, the Maple Street pump station, and all of this is with her guidance and her managerial skills. It doesn't mean she did it all, and she is the first to give a lot of credit to an amazingly hardworking, dedicated, and very capable staff. Thank goodness for all that. So Brian Bender, when you take over, you're going to see that we have a really amazing staff. But Stephanie guided the ship. That's not an easy task. For one thing, she has 5 bosses. Not everybody can live with 5 bosses. And there's the crisis of the day that is constantly interrupting everything else and having to drop everything and deal with that and not lose sight of the overall picture and the goals and what you want to do next year. So it's a very hard and often thankless job. And thank you, Stephanie, so much for rising to the challenge and leading us for the last 3 years. And I really appreciate it.
At this point, I want to see if anybody else wants to speak, and so if you can identify yourself.
Hi, this is Karen, HR Manager.
All right, Karen, go ahead.
I've been asked to speak on behalf of the city staff. It always hurts to lose that one person who leads the pack at work and gets everything done. Stephanie, your knowledge, years of experience, and your guidance inspired us to do better. You were not just a boss to us, but a mentor and a friend. Thank you for all your guidance and the support you provided us. You challenged us to do better every day, to reach beyond our comfort zone, and to love the task at hand, no matter what the work entailed or how much of it there was. You've had an amazing career, and now it's time for you to bask in your accomplishments. You have contributed a lot to the city, and you will be remembered for your hard work and contribution to our community. We work all our lives so we can retire, so we can do what we want to do, when we want to do it, where we want to do it, and how we want to do it. Your life's new journey is about to begin. It's time for you to unwind your mind, relax your soul, and do adventurous things. Enjoy your life and do the things you've always wanted to do but never had the time to do them. So embrace your future, fill your life with joyous moments, and pray that we can all continue to carry out your ideals. It's finally time to stop living for work and get to work on living. May your life be filled with a lot of happiness, adventures, good friends and family, and a really great bottle of wine. Don't regret what you haven't done, but look forward to what you have yet to enjoy. You aren't at the end of your road. You're merging onto an open highway. Good luck with your retirement.
Thank you, Karen. Do I have anybody else?
Mayor, this is Dusty, the Community Development Director. I want to try to share a few words as well. So Stephanie, it was a pleasure working for and with you. I know I'm going to think of something else after I speak tonight, but I know where you live, so I'll be able to share some more sentiments in the future. But I wanted to thank you for your genuine support to myself. You didn't get overly mad when I messed up, and you gave me more credit than I deserved. I got it right. I want to thank you for recognizing the importance of good planning and your support to all of us here at the Community Development Department. I love the fact that I'm going to tell you, is true. I particularly appreciated your patience and willingness to take the time to explain different approaches that I initially didn't understand. I think where some bosses may have said something like, Dusty, I don't need you to understand it, I just need you to do it. you actually took the time to listen and often either alert me to a factor that I was not considering, whereby I actually learned something and became better at my job, or sometimes after listening to my reason, you actually changed your mind and was willing to take a different approach. And I can't emphasize enough how much I appreciated that. You know, the other thing is I have a deep respect for your ethics and how you stuck up for what you thought was right, even when you knew a certain action would open you up to criticism. Your moral compass did not waver the entire time, and you should hold your head up high knowing that. You know, I was about to say that I was going to miss your cooking, but I'm pretty sure we're friends, and I think I can expect to be invited to the post-COVID housewarming party. You know, I'm anxious to start a relationship and support our incoming city manager, but you know, I really am sad that we're not going to get to work together every day. But you know, I love the fact that you're sticking around in the community here, that you love as much as I do. So, you know, I'm happy that it's not going to be a goodbye at the end of the month, but rather, you know, thanks, and I'll see you later. So, thank you, Stephanie.
All right. Does anybody else like to say anything? Okay.
I would like to say something. This is Dolores.
Oh, okay, Dolores, go ahead.
I just wanted to tell Stephanie, thank you for making us feel valued here at the city. It's been a long time since we've felt that, and you have been amazing, and I look forward to a growing friendship outside of the hectic of work. But good luck in your future endeavors, and I look forward to hearing about your fiddling learning and your continued music explorations, and best of luck, and we love you.
Anybody else? Before I turn it over to Stephanie, I kind of want to give some context to why we're doing this now again, is that Stephanie's retiring. Technically, her last day on the job is the 31st. I know she's technically on the books for any leave till March, but we are not going to meet again this year till January, so I wanted to kind of explain that to the public and everything else. There's some context. All right, Stephanie, I'm going to see if you want to say some words. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, I actually would. First of all, thank you. I'd like to thank the City Council staff and the City of Willits for allowing me the opportunity and the privilege to serve this wonderful community. It's been a hectic, crazy, wonderful, and sometimes heartbreaking 3 years. We did a lot in the last 3 years. I mean, it's actually, when I looked back at all the things we were able to accomplish as a team, it was really stunning, and it really meant all of us together. I know that the mayor and Councilmember Strong outlined a few things, but I also want to just thank people in particular for some of the great things that they did. You know, we mentioned relinquishment. That was an enormous effort of staff, and we met with Caltrans almost every week, fighting over things, collaborating over things, and just really fighting for this town. And that was, you know, Bill Wilson worked so hard on that, as well as the engineering division and Dusty. The grants we were able to attain in the last 3 years, $12 to $17 million worth of grants. And we have Jim Robbins and Dusty and our engineering division. And I had some parts of that as well, with participation from my old city, City of Tracy, a great assist there from the Public Works Director. And so I'm just so proud, especially the Rails to Trails grant. It's really going to change the face of the city. The Great Redwood Trail, working with Senator McGuire's office, who really fought for us and fought for us as a city of Willits. Of course, Jerry mentioned the the sewer bonds, and then we also financed redevelopment bonds, getting a really favorable Standard & Poor credit rating, which was really tough. And that was the finance division, and Scott and Kathy and Andy, we all worked on that. Both the cannabis tax and the amending the cannabis ordinance to allow adult use and other changes and modernization. An enormous amount of effort, and I want to bring Jim Lance was just extraordinary in helping with that as well. And hope he's on the line, and Dusty and Michelle, and we had some wonderful outside consultants, some of which I knew from my previous experience in other cities. I think that this is going to bring hundreds of thousands of dollars to the city every year. It's already really outpacing expectations. We have a new website. It's fabulous. As Councilmember Strong said, we purchased a solar array because Andrea Trincado from the engineering division was so fierce and really getting to the bottom of our PG&E costs and helping negotiate this, and I helped negotiate that as well. We have built relationships in this county that really we haven't for a long time, and I'm proud of that. We now have strong relationships with all of the other cities in Mendocino counties, including Fort Bragg and Ukiah and Point Arena and the county. And we meet frequently, and we talk, and we share resources, and I'm very proud of that. We also have relationships with outside agencies such as Frontier Days and the Chamber of Commerce, and I wanted to thank Ron Moorhead for being this energetic force for at the Chamber, for really building up the Chamber. The sewer lateral or the sewer loan program, that was huge. And now we're so environmentally sustainable, and that was engineering division, and again Scott, and also Jim Lance did a wonderful job. The Great Race, shout out to Kathy Moorhead in bringing this incredible thing to our city. It was a once-in-a-lifetime event, and we planned for this and worked with the Chamber and worked so hard for this. And she worked so hard and brought us all together for this successful effort. We negotiated with the county for them to pay for half of our landfill costs. This hadn't been done in 20 years, and now we're finally getting them to pay their fair share, which is wonderful. Again, engineering division helped with this quite a bit. Our sustainability policy, so proud of that. Willits is a very small city, and to have a comprehensive sustainability policy is pretty special, and I'm really proud that Councilmember Strong brought this forward as an initiative, and we tried to carry that through, and I so appreciate Council caring so much to encourage us to do that. PSPSs, who knew we were going to do that? And so we all came together to make that happen. We won awards for our budget. A city this small to be able to win the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the CFOA and the GFOA's Best Practices in Budgeting is an impressive accomplishment that not that many cities get to claim, but we got to claim that. And it was just our very small but very mighty finance department. Again, airport management was mentioned before. Kathy and Kenan were extraordinary, and just hit it out of the park in terms of making our airport more beautiful, more functional, and bringing in a lot of money through outside contracts, through the fire efforts, and with our community development division, working on over $1 million grant to repair our runway. Crisis management, we have a new operations plan. We had to open the EOC twice in 3 years. That's sort of unheard of, and wanted to shout out to the mayor for helping us this year during the Oak Fire. During the Oak Fire, our fire responsiveness was extraordinary. This staff worked incredibly well under pressure. Our police department and our public works crew assisted in the evacuation of 6,000 people during the Oak Fire. They saved lives, and they did it even though most of them had been evacuated and were sleeping on the floor and dressing out of plastic bags. And still, people at this job, they came to work They put in their all. They worked 18-hour days. They were there in the smoke, outside in the smoke, without very much equipment, and I just could not believe the dedication of the staff during the fire to keep people safe. We had a bit of a staff reorganization. When I came on, we didn't have any department heads, and I was really proud to be able to appoint Kathy Moorhead and Dusty as department heads. They have risen to the challenge and just been extraordinary. There's just so much with the, Frontier Days was able to continue throughout COVID, through working with the county to make sure they were safe. We now have water. I believe we are working to water security for the city, which is something that cities really struggle with. I know most of you don't know this, but we actually struggled with a lot of, or worked through a lot of human resources issues in the last couple of years. And we can't discuss HR matters with the public, nor with even the city council sometimes, but I can attest to the enormous amount of work that has been done in this area by Karen Stevenson, who was just an incredible amount of work. Plus, she took on payroll and the new laws and regulations requiring new trainings with COVID and everything else. She's handled it all incredibly well. Dusty worked on our sphere of influence as we worked through that and started negotiating through the county in annexation efforts. And of course, COVID. We've all struggled with that, each and every one of us. We've spent hundreds of hours on the phone, all of us, working on this COVID issue. I wanted to actually put some metrics on the ground so people could really understand what we've accomplished. And I looked at the resolutions passed by council, which is really a symbol of sort of the meaningful things that were done, because they're your contracts, your financial things that were passed. And in the 5 years preceding, my 3 years here, we averaged about 25 resolutions a year. In 2018, we had 74. Basically, pretty much tripled the number of resolutions we passed. And this was due to the hard work of all of us, council, staff, all together. We pulled together and did all these things. The items on the regular agenda with the staff report increased by about 100% as well, which means we doubled our workload. For Kathy, Kathy Moorhead has to deal with all the resolutions and the staff reports and all this. That means a lot of her staff work pretty much doubled. And I really didn't even, it's hard to realize that we realize how much we actually did. I'm sorry to take some time but I just really feel like I need to thank folks because this was such a special time for me. I want to thank the fire department and Chris Wilkes, who was always there to, I asked him for so much advice, especially during emergencies, and he was always there. He gave us trainings he brought us all into the council chambers and taught staff about emergency procedures and how to put together an EOC and all those things, even though, we have mandated training until it really happens, you don't know. Where's my... I have to look at my notes really quick. Sorry. Also, I'd like to thank my husband, who put up with me during all the stress, and he was so patient, and he heard, all of what was going on, and he was just wonderful throughout all of these efforts. And of course, I thanked Kathy, but I just want to say it again. I want to especially thank Kathy, my cohort, my deputy city manager, who is the lifeblood of this office, and her support and intelligence and her skill and organization of really saved us and really pulled us together. And I wanted to thank her, and of course the Willits community, which I am so proud to be a part of. And I love my little hippie love shack out here in Willits, and I a couple of people. Dolores and Kim, the ladies at the front lines. I call them the front lines. They deal with so much from the public. You have no idea what they have to deal with people don't like to pay their bills, let me tell you. And they get an earful almost every day, and they do it with patience and kindness and so much thanks. And Police Department, Fabian, Derek, Rico, Brittany, Chris, so many contributions. Davey Goals, Jim Robbins, oh my gosh, is always there to help. Michelle Johnson, so great with the cannabis work she's doing. And of course, engineering. This team is amazing. Andrea and Jeremy are so good at their jobs. And most cities have to contract out for these kinds of services. Scott Herman, so quiet and so dependable. He manages incredibly important and complicated resources and makes it look effortless, which it is not. And he handles tough and technical things every day, just gets it done. And then, his Daniel Curtis over there in the wastewater team. I'm so glad he got promoted, and he's doing such a wonderful job. And I know I'm forgetting all kinds of people, but this is sort of my chance, so I just wanted to throw that out there. My very sincere gratitude for the ability to do this job, and I will hold all of you in my heart for the rest of my life. So that's pretty much all I got.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks for the city and everything you did. All right. At this point, I guess we have two items that the agenda needs to be amended. At 13A and 13B. 13A would be conference with labor negotiations pursuant Government Code 54957.6, reorganization, Willits Police Officers Association. And item 13B, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code section 54956.9E4, anticipated litigation, one case. We have
Mayor, this is Jim Lancher, City Attorney. I need to address item 13B.
Oh, okay.
Actually, this should be existing litigation, not anticipated litigation.
Oh, okay.
In our November 30 closed session, the council met regarding a gymnasium that was planning to open despite health orders prohibiting it. And we met and discussed that issue, and the council gave me a conditional approval to go ahead and file a lawsuit for injunctive relief, but it was conditional to first determine, are they in fact going to operate, and will the county handle this for the city, or will the district attorney get involved? And we learned the next day that the gym had opened, and that the county would not get involved, nor would the district attorney. And so we filed a lawsuit, and on Friday, November 4, Judge Mayfield issued a temporary restraining order and an order to show cause for a preliminary injunction against the Good Guys Gym, Jesse Carter and Clay King. And that matter is now set for a preliminary injunction hearing in January 15, 2021. So we will be meeting in closed session to discuss that case.
Thank you, Jim. So at this point, I need a motion to amend the agenda.
I'll move approval of adding both agenda items 13A and 13B as Jim changed it.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
Larry.
I'll recognize Sabrina since I saw her lips move first. All right, Larry. All right. Any further discussion? If not, does anybody from the public like to comment?
I just want to correct it. Jim said that the TRO was on November 4th. It was actually December 4th.
Oh, thank you, Edge. All right. No further comment. Motion to amend the agenda. Seconded. So all those in favor? Kathy?
I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Connie?
No.
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Strong?
Yes.
Stransky?
Yes.
Mayor Gonzalez?
Yes. All right. Thank you. Now we're going to have item 2, public communication. Council welcomes participation in meetings. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person so that everyone may be given an opportunity to be heard. Expedite matters and avoid repetition whenever any group of persons wishes to address the council. The same subject matter, the mayor may request a spokesperson be chosen by the group. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the city council which are not on the posted agenda. The criticism of the city council, commission, boards, and agencies will not be prohibited. However, no action shall be taken as it is not agenda. Anybody from the public that would like to speak?
Chris was talking from Willits POA.
I see Patty Parrott. All right, you're muted. Go ahead.
Hi, Mike. And I have notes. So I'm part of the newly formed Mendocino County Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force. It's just now starting to work with county officials to make changes to the status quo that perpetuates racial and ethnic disparities in the country. So I'd like to propose that Willits be the first city in Mendocino to declare that racism is a public health crisis and commit to taking urgent action. So racism is one of the social determinants of health. Many of the health issues that our residents suffer from may be rooted in racism and its bedfellows, like employment discrimination, poverty, low expectations, high crime neighborhoods, criminalization, and so many others. So I'm happy to assist if this were something that the City Council would like to move towards.
Thank you very much. Chris, did you want to speak?
Can I comment on that just quickly? No, we can't take action, but if there is some kind of draft resolution, I would appreciate getting that, and maybe in a future agenda we could look at that.
Chris, do you want to speak?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I appreciate the time to get an opportunity to speak here. Some of you may know, may not know, I'm the current Willits POA president for the police department. The issues we are encountering is basically low staffing in terms of being able to adequately respond to our city. We are currently down to a critical level of staffing. We are down to about 4 officers, 2 sergeants that are responsible for the city of Willits. Our officers are stuck working relatively 24-hour shifts. We're subject to call-outs at all hours. And it's a continued issue that we are struggling with right now. I understand some of this stuff is more for negotiations come times with contract. But what we are trying to do is we're trying to find out what the city's plan is to try to reinforce our staffing and try to retain and recruit members to continue to work for our police department. It's a constant battle for our officers right now. We've had officers basically log about 200 hours of overtime in just last month's period by itself. This is something that's concerning for our officers in terms of where's the relief in sight. I understand, I apologize because this is the first time I've ever talked in a city council meeting whatsoever, so I do apologize for that, and I hope I don't come off as a whiny employee, but I'm trying to represent our members for the police department, so I do apologize if I come off that way. That's not my intention. Right now, we are working nonstop constantly. We are trying to do everything we can to get new members and to try to continue serving the community. It's really just a matter of us being able to have staffing to, continue to do what we do with the community. We're public servants. We signed up for a job to protect the public, respond to calls. Whenever there's, 911, regardless of who it is that's calling, we respond. We are constantly supporting the Little Lake Fire Department. Come the Oak fires, like Stephanie said earlier, we had officers working 18-hour shifts. We had people sleeping on cots. We have done as much as we can with what resources we have at this point. I know this is not something where, the council members can comment, and it's not something I'm trying to ask for right now, but I just want to let it be known that We have concerns about the police department right now in terms of where our staffing's at. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else like to speak? Gone. Right. At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Stephanie for items BA through E. Let's run the meeting.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first public matter that we need to take on is the adoption of a resolution declaring the results of the general municipal election held on November 3rd, 2020. And I'm not going to give a staff report because the results are in your staff reports. So unless someone wants to comment on that, I guess I'm going to take a motion.
Yes, I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Shall we call the roll?
Yes. I have a motion and a second. Councilmember Connie?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Strong?
Yes.
Stransky?
Yes.
Mayor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Item number B is the fun one. We get to swear in our council members. The way this is going to work, COVID style, is I'm going to take the three members of our council one at a time and ask you to repeat after me the oath. After the oath is completed, you will sign your oath of office and show it to the public, and then we will move to the next. Am I doing that right, Kathy? Okay, good. Okay, first one we're going to take is Gerardo Gonzalez. And please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Gerardo Gonzalez, do solemnly swear.
I, Gerardo Gonzalez, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Thank you. All right. Congratulations. Next we have Madge Strong. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Madge Strong, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Sabrina Rodriguez, please raise your right hand. I, Sabrina Rodriguez, unmute.
I, Sabrina Rodriguez,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. All right. Congratulations, all of you. Our next item is the nomination and appointment of the mayor. And for that, I will ask for nominations.
This is Larry Scrantz. I would like to nominate Madge for mayor.
I'll second.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Councilmember Stransky, seconded by, I guess you're a council member now, Councilmember Gonzalez. And Kathy, do I take a vote now?
I will call for roll.
Okay.
So I have a nomination and a second. Councilmember Connie?
No. Accept.
Oh, Madge.
Have to
Matt,
accept
do you
the
accept the nomination?
I will if I'm elected. I'm willing.
Thank you. Councilmember Connie?
No.
Rodriguez?
No.
Strong?
Yes?
Stransky?
Yes.
Gonzalez? Mayor Gonzalez?
Yep. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Now accept, congratulations, Mayor Strong. We're now accepting nominations for an appointment of a vice mayor. I'm accepting nominations.
I'll nominate Greta.
Oh,
I was just about to nominate you, Sabrina.
I'll second second the nomination of Greta Connie.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Kathy, will you call the roll?
Councilmember Connie.
Don't I have to accept the nomination?
You don't have to.
Yes.
You don't have to.
You do. If you want, you don't have to. I'm sorry, I forgot to ask.
I would like to pass. Thank you. I would like to nominate Sabrina Rodriguez instead for the vice mayor position.
All right, we have a nomination for Sabrina Rodriguez. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I second it, Larry. This is Larry.
All right. So we have a motion and a second for Sabrina Rodriguez as vice mayor. Kathy, will you call Councilmember Rodriguez? Do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll call the roll.
Councilmember Connie.
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes.
Strong.
Yes.
Stransky.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
All right, we have a mayor and a vice mayor. Before I turn the meeting over to our newly appointed mayor, I would like to thank Jerry Gonzalez for his wonderful service as mayor over the past year. You've done a remarkable job, and I have very much appreciated your guidance and counsel and your leadership. So thank you, and I will hand the virtual gavel, over to Mayor Strong.
Okay, I caught it.
Thank you, Jerry, for your time as mayor.
Say that again, Sabrina.
I concurred with Stephanie. I wanted to thank Jerry. He served 3 years as mayor, and I wanted to note that I appreciate his time.
I do as well. Thank you, Jerry.
And I agree with that as well. He's been a very good mayor. Hard shoes to fill. So we have next item on the agenda is enactment of ordinances, and there is none on our agenda today. So we're moving to the consent calendar, and several items were removed as far as the city council minutes, but we have November 5th, November 18th, and November 30th special meetings under that item. We have a resolution authorizing the city to enter into an employment agreement with Brian Bender for city manager services. And then we have resolution adopting joint powers authority agreement and bylaws for the creation of a California Intergovernmental Risk Authority called CIRA. Is that how it's pronounced? CIRA?
Yes.
And adopting the amended, thank you, adopting the, do I need to read the whole thing? Is that important? It's in the statute.
I'm going to ask Kathy if that's necessary.
Yes, I would go ahead and read the titles.
Okay, so I read part of it, and further adopting the amended Joint Powers Authority Agreement and bylaws for the Redwood Empire Municipal Insurance Fund, REMA, required for the merger of the Public Agency Risk Sharing Authority of California, which is called PARSAP, to therefore create CIRA. And the final item on consent calendar is adopting a resolution of the City Council of the City of Willits authorizing city manager to execute agreements with the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration for implementation of a local transactions and use tax, and a resolution authorizing the examination of transactions. And to translate that into layman's terms, that is enacting Measure K's new sales tax. So it is, that's the paperwork required to do that. I would like to pull item B, just so that we can have a separate vote on and hear from our new city manager, Brian Bender. So let's go ahead and have a motion for all the other items, A, C, and D, and adopt.
I so moved.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Greta, I'll second.
Okay, Greta beat you to it, Larry. So moved and seconded to adopt consent calendar A, C, and D. Kathy, you want to call the vote? Oh, was there any comment from the public? If not, call for the vote.
Councilmember Connie.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Stransky.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes. So the item regarding entering into a contract with our city manager, Brian Bender, I don't have the wonderful words in front of me, but I really wanted about Brian's past experience and why he was selected. I know he was city manager in Deer Lodge, Montana for at least 4 years, and prior to that was also an administrator in the county there. So he comes with a lot of experience with small cities, and we're thinking that it's a really good fit, that he's going to hit the ground running and learn all about Willits and appreciate this very special community. And I want to just welcome him and have him say a few words, if he would. Yeah. Brian? We're glad to have you here today.
Thank you. It's amazing. In the last couple of weeks, ever since I got the notice, I was doing a lot of research, preparing myself, and I thought I knew a little bit, but after hearing all the accomplishments in the last several speakers, I realized, I'm not prepared enough, and it's going to be a great challenge that I'm embarking on, and I am so glorious to think about this opportunity. I'm hearing great things about the staff and the community itself, and the elected officials and the appointed officials that I'll have the opportunity to work with and build on those accomplishments and add more value to those opportunities.
Thank you, Brian. So,
and I would like to personally warmly welcome you. It's the first time we've met, and I want to warmly welcome you to this chair, and I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you.
And we're fortunate that Stephanie is going to still be here in the community, so she's not going to be away, and you will probably have opportunities to call her up.
Oh, I think that's going to happen very easily.
Good.
I live a mile away, swing by, have a glass of wine, it'll be great.
with the masks on. Okay. Any other comments on that item, 5B, from anybody else or the public?
Hi, Brian. This is Greta, Councilwoman Connie. I just wanted to say welcome. We're looking forward to working with you and excited to have you here at the City of Willits.
Thank you.
So, Councilmember Gonzalez, Brian, welcome aboard, and can't wait to start working with you.
Yes, I agree. I'm trying to get out there as soon as possible. I'm in the final stages of closing on a property out there in Willits, trying to close my property here in Montana and get out of here before the snow starts flying again.
We're hoping for rain here.
Okay.
But we don't often get snow. You'll find out it's a little different.
Oh, I know. I'm looking forward to the climate change. It's going to be very welcomed.
Great. Any other comments before we call for the vote? Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
I need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry.
That's
I'll
okay.
second the motion.
Okay. Moved by Jerry and seconded, I believe it was Greta first.
Bear with me.
Kathy?
Okay, Councilmember Connie.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Stransky.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes.
Welcome, Brian.
I have a question. Yes, welcome so much. You will be getting to know a lot of very competent and dedicated and interesting and fun people when you get here. Before we go to informational reports, I just wanted to ask, how do our chairs get arranged after COVID? we'll
have to talk about that. However you all would like.
Okay. I know where the mayor and the vice mayor sit, but just curious about the rest. There are two items of information that are attached to our agenda, which is the business license activity and the solid waste of Willits rate adjustment. And we don't have to take action. I did want to ask a question. Where is my question? How come TNT Market is listed as a new business license? They've been in business for a long time.
They changed hands.
Yeah.
The business changed hands. Whenever there's a change in ownership, they have to apply for a new business license, and there was a change of ownership.
Okay. All right, thank you. Moving on to item 7 on our agenda, commissions, agencies, and authorities. That would be if we were meeting as the Planning Commission or the successor agency, and we are not doing that tonight. Item 8 is the city manager reports and recommendations. So, Stephanie, take it away.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, council members. I realized I forgot to thank somebody, and I was like, oh my goodness. So why don't you give a shout out to Ken O'Shea, because Ken O'Shea he rocks, and he had to come on very suddenly. I know that Bill Wilson had always planned for him to fill his shoes, and unfortunately it happened sooner than we had expected. But Ken has been just an amazing resource, and I look forward to seeing his smiling, competent face almost every day, and I just wanted to give him a shout out, and I didn't forget you, Ken, because you're great and awesome, so thank you. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the COVID, our latest updates to COVID. We have Becky Emery, who is going to get on the line. I'm not sure whether she's on the line yet, but she is the Social Services Branch Director of Mendocino County Health and Human Services, and she's really been on the front lines of this COVID fight along with our public health official. And I invited her here to give us a little bit of an update regarding hospital beds, ICU, what we're doing. And Becky, if you're here, I'm going to let you take it away. Are you here?
I'm not hearing.
I just sent her a message to join us.
Okay. I will tell you that while she's waiting to get on the line, because we texted her so she didn't have to sit through the whole meeting, but I did want to. Becky is the person who updates me on the COVID numbers on a weekly basis, and she has more precise information. And it's been hard because of privacy concerns. It's been hard to, while our dashboard tells us how many new cases are in the county, we didn't really get a lot of information on how many cases were actually in Willits, especially when it was under 5 because of privacy concerns. Now that when it's over 5 new cases, we do get to tell you how many are in our city. And I am very sorry to say that we now have 34 active cases in Willits, whereas last week we had 8. And the week before that we had under 5. And so I know Becky will tell you more about that, but I know that the county had 37 new cases just yesterday. And we're just really, the cases are sort of piling up, and it's very frightening. Becky, are you there yet?
Yes.
She's muted.
Becky Emery, unmute yourself. We're ready for a report from you. Can you hear us? You need to unmute.
apologize for that. So thank you very much for inviting me to join your meeting. As far as the current numbers for Mendocino County, we are definitely seeing a massive surge in the number of cases that we're experiencing, and the surge has really hit us extremely hard in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and it continues to increase as we are continuing through this surge. We had over 100 cases in the 3 days following Thanksgiving alone. And so I know that there are a lot of concerns around the response and what's happening. And so let me just go ahead and give the numbers. And the numbers that I have right now are as of yesterday, because we're still working on finalizing our report for today. And so I apologize that they're not today's numbers. But as of yesterday, at close of business, we had a total of 1,815 cases in Mendocino County, of which 264 are currently in isolation. 418 people were in quarantine as close contacts of people that have contracted COVID-19. And we had 1,522 people that have been released from isolation and 24 deaths. Mendocino County is continuing to engage in our case investigation and contact tracing. We have worked very diligently on those efforts, where many of our surrounding counties are definitely struggling with that as well and are actually reducing their calls. Mendocino County continues to contact those individuals that are in isolation and do the case investigations with them. We are currently evaluating our ability to continue that effort given the significant increases that we've had. Additionally, there are new metrics that have been put out from the state as far as how they're looking at counties and regions. Mendocino County has been placed into the northern region for the state, looking specifically at the ICU intensive care unit beds and availability of those beds in our hospitals. And they are saying that any region, as a region, that drops below 15% of their regular capacity beds would be put into further shelter-in-place restrictions. Currently, Mendocino County is not in that spot. Our hospitals have 16 beds, but again, this is for all of the Northern California region, and so it's the cumulative of our beds. I know that our hospital reported yesterday on their capacity specifically and their abilities to meet those capacities, and I really appreciate that they are bringing that information forward so that our community is aware of where we are. Additionally, we continue to work with our partners as we are moving forward in the event experiencing multiple outbreaks throughout the community. The most recent outbreak that we have been working on very diligently has been at Building Bridges, the homeless shelter in Ukiah. We have had 8 residents of the shelter test positive. We are continuing to work with them. They have been housing all of their residents at the facility and separating out those that are tested positive into isolation and doing regular testing. We did screening testing from the get-go when we became aware of the incident, because we were well aware that this is a population that could have significant spread very quickly. And that's where we identified the additional 7 cases. We did outbreak testing Tuesday. I'm thinking I was at the board still. We did outbreak testing on Tuesday at Building Bridges, and we hope to have those results back by Friday so that we can further isolate any individuals that we're aware of. The difficult part of this is many of the individuals are asymptomatic, meaning that they're not experiencing any symptoms currently of the virus. And so that makes it much more difficult to engage and make sure that people understand how serious this virus really is. And what we don't know right now is the long-standing effects that it will have on our bodies and our lungs specifically, whether we're asymptomatic or not down the road. Mendocino County is also working on a vaccine plan rollout, and we are going to be doing a tabletop exercise next week with as we're working through that. We have submitted our vaccination plan to the state, and it has been received and approved. We are continuing to look at how that works. One of the main pieces of that rollout is a freezer that has the ability to do a minus 76 degrees. And so we have ordered one. Our first one that we had ordered in November was put on delay, and we were able to successfully order a second one that is due for delivery next week. And then we have also been assigned one from the state that will be delivered the first part of January, hopefully. We do feel like between those efforts, we'll be able to disseminate the vaccine throughout the county and be able to store it in a secure manner. The hospital, again, has offered to be a fantastic partner in that effort, as they have some freezer capacity as well, and will support us with that effort for our county. Why don't I go ahead and stop there, and I'm certainly available for questions, and I will do my best to share the information that I have with all of you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, was that Greta?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that report. I do have a question about ICU capacity. You indicated that, or the state has indicated that a region will be moved into the shutdown once the ICU capacity falls below 15%. And although Mendocino County's capacity is looking good, am I to understand that if one of the other counties or any of the other counties in our region drop below, we all go? Is that correct?
It is based on a regional census, so it's the cumulative of our region. So it's not specific to one county. It's based on the cumulative availability of ICU beds throughout the northern region. And there's multiple counties within the northern region. And so it's adding all of those ICU beds and the availability of those beds and looking at that number. And when it drops below that 15% availability, that's when they would trigger that further shelter in place.
Okay, so even if our county continues to be good, we're really in lockstep with everyone else in our region.
We absolutely are.
Got it. Thank you.
I have a question. How does that regional average hospital beds available look at the moment at the regional level? Do we know?
So we do have that information. I do not have it right in front of me. I keep trying to pull it up, and my computer keeps kicking back over to this Zoom. So we do have it, and I apologize. I will get that information and send it to Stephanie if that works for you to share with this group.
Are we close to that 15% threshold now?
I would rather than guess, I would rather give you the specific information.
Okay. And one other question I had was that Stephanie just said that there are 34 cases in Willits. Is Willits defined as the 95490 zip code, or is it this? Yes, Stephanie, is that?
Actually, these numbers are my zip code that Becky gives me, but I should let Becky say.
Okay, Becky, answer.
I was just waiting for the end of your question. I want to make sure I had the whole one. So the cases are that I do provide. I provide a zip code report to our city managers throughout Mendocino County, and yes, the 954 zip code is the 30 some odd cases, and I did just send an updated report maybe 5 to 10 minutes ago in preparation for this, and Willits is currently at 34 cases, and when I say Willits, it is the 95490 zip code.
Of those cases, are there some hospitalized and or in quarantine?
All 34 cases would be in isolation. I can't say whether or not they are in hospital at this point. That's a separate report that I pull. As far as your quarantine, you have 51 individuals in quarantine as close contacts. So that's 34 positive individuals in the 95490 that have contracted COVID currently, and that have it right now, not historically. Those are the people that have it right now, and they have 51 close contacts that have been identified.
Wow, thank you. That's not good news.
can you clarify the difference between quarantine and isolation? It's a question I get a lot from the public.
Certainly, and it's a great question. So for isolation is specific to those individuals that have contracted COVID-19, and it entails them being separated from all of their household and family members that do not currently have the virus. And quarantine is close contact of those individuals that have contracted COVID-19 but have not tested positive for it themselves. And so those individuals should also be separated from all of their family members. And for lack of a better word, I would also say isolating, and that's where it gets very confusing, but separating from all of their family members as well, wearing a mask. The primary difference between the two words, virus, or whether you were in close contact with someone with the virus.
Thank you. Any other council members have questions? Jerry?
So, Becky, I read in the paper that our contact tracers were overwhelmed at one point. Is that still the case countywide?
That is absolutely the case. I can tell you that we have an immense number of cases coming in, and our ability to be able to reach all of those individuals and put them into isolation, in addition to the calls to the individuals currently in isolation and to the contact those that are close contacts, and the monitoring that we're doing, we are working with more than 650 people in Mendocino County. And so to make 650 calls in one day is an immense task, in addition to all of the positives and the additional calls. So we are absolutely looking at that. We have been modifying the way that we do our quarantine calls. So again, that's those people that are close contacts. We call and place them in quarantine, and then we call them on day 4. If they are asymptomatic, we call them again on day 10. And if they continue to be asymptomatic, we call them on day 14. And on day 14, if they are continued to be asymptomatic, then we have been releasing them from from quarantine and recommending that they go get a test. For individuals, anytime during their quarantine period that develop symptoms, we add them to our daily call log. So as you can see, that is an immense number of people.
Yeah.
In the last 5 days, I've been shocked at the alarming number of people I know that have become COVID positive or that have been exposed to somebody and awaiting test results. And just from the interactions I've had, it appears that the majority of those cases are from social gatherings. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I know that people have asked me, is it coming from places of employment, from unknown sources, or is it primarily from social gatherings? So maybe we could get some factual information. That would be great.
So our primary spread has been from internal in households that are not able to isolate or quarantine away from one another the way that they need to or maintain that, as well as gatherings, very much like you're referring to, where families are getting together and often having meals and eating and not wearing their masks. The mask is a great protector of our community, and so when we take our mask off to eat, to drink, to smoke cigarettes, to do any number of things that people take their mask off for, it spreads the virus further, and especially though around eating. And of course, lots and lots of gatherings. When people get together, we eat, we share food, and we enjoy one another. And unfortunately, that is where the virus has spread a significant number. There are still spread amongst businesses. We've had several of our outbreaks where individuals are going to lunch together. We recommend that businesses close break rooms and lunch rooms and encourage their staff to go outside to eat and to eat eat separately. Again, because we have a natural tendency to, come together, be it at work or at home, at someone's home, wherever that gathering may be. And so the best that we can do is to make sure that we have our social distancing and that we aren't especially eating around one another.
Are there other comments or questions from council members?
I have one more, if it's okay.
Certainly, go ahead.
I was just wondering, I was thinking about the comment that your contact tracers are overwhelmed, and I've heard from a lot of residents who are stuck at home or out of work, and I'm wondering if there's any volunteer opportunity or possibility of training for folks who are un- or underemployed right now to help with the contact tracing.
I really appreciate that. Certainly, we do have volunteers that work through the Disaster Healthcare Volunteer. They sign up for that effort through North Coast Opportunities, and they have that posted on their webpage. And we have done lots of requests and worked with them very closely for individuals that have said that they would be willing to do case investigation and contact tracing. We, on average, have a daily team of 15 case investigators and contact tracers, and that team is comprised of state contact tracers and investigators, our own staff, and disaster healthcare volunteers. On the weekends, our teams drop down to about 10 to 12 people because the state callers are not available on the weekends, and so it's our county staff and the disaster healthcare volunteers. So absolutely, there's an opportunity to partner there. The other thing I would encourage people to do is we are running. It's not running right this minute because we're doing a recruitment, but it will be running again shortly. Is community healthcare worker. And the community healthcare worker is our disaster healthcare volunteers that we are hiring in to do the case investigation and contact tracing.
Would you have the website handy? I think it's ncoinc.org, but I'm not sure for volunteers who want to. Do you have that, Becky?
I believe that is it, but I will send that as well to Stephanie. I'm going to have to write a list of all the things I have to send her. I apologize.
Okay, well, so that other people who might be in on this call, you could try www.ncoinc.org. If that doesn't work to get to NCO, the North Coast Opportunities, then you could call City Hall and get information from Stephanie. Anybody from the public want to ask Becky a question? I have one other question. Is the latest health order no restaurants, even the outdoor dining? Because I thought I saw some outdoor dining today, and I was wondering if that is now effectively shut down or if it will be. I know the indoor dining is completely out, but so can you answer that, Becky?
So indoor dining is shut down entirely. So outdoor dining is allowed, and we've had lots of questions around the tents for the outdoor dining. And the outdoor dining that is allowed is, there can be the tent, but it has to have 3 open sides for that tent.
Okay. So there are some restaurants in town that are able to comply with those rules and have outdoor dining. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
And I don't hear any other comments coming in. Stephanie, do you want to?
I just wanted to add that Davey Bowles, our code enforcement officer and building inspector, has been responding to calls from people questioning, how you do outdoor dining, and Dusty Dooley has done that as well, with the guidance on how many walls you have to have and whether it's which walls are which, and lots of questions. And he's investigated a lot of sites and helped a lot of businesses, and I do appreciate that, both Dusty and Davey Bowles.
Okay, so Stephanie, do you have any other reports as city manager besides this? Very informative. Thank you so much, Becky, for filling us in.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you. The more education that I can do, the happier I am to share the information as far as what's happening in our community and how we can come together to respond and hopefully mitigate this further spread.
Absolutely. It's more essential than ever because there's a really big spike happening. And it's the bearer of bad news, but also good news because we can do something about it. Stephanie?
I have nothing else other than we were trying to get sort of the finalization of a budget this week, but we had some further questions, and I know that our finance director was working on some other cities' work, so we are trying to bring you a budget. Either we're going to need to find a date to bring you a budget before the end of the year, because we do want to do that, a final budget, because we do have new numbers and amended numbers that we need to add to that.
Is it possible that we're going to be asked to do a special meeting, or is this going to wait? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a special meeting, and I don't think it's going to be very long because I think you've all seen the budget, and it will just be some amendments, updating it.
Okay. So item 9 on our agenda is department recommendations, and we have item A is discussion and possible action approving a resolution to award a contract to HR Dynamics and Performance Management, Inc. for a not-to-exceed amount of $16,500 to perform a comprehensive total compensation study for the City of Willits and authorize city manager to execute contract documents. Stephanie, did you want to present that, or somebody else on that one? Is that?
I believe that's a Karen Stevenson item.
Okay, Karen, are you there?
Good evening, Mayor Strong and Vice Mayor Rodriguez, council members. This is a request to indeed hire HR Dynamics and Performance Management to conduct a citywide total compensation study, something that hasn't been done for well over 10 years. And this agency comes highly recommended by many other cities, as well as our legal vendor, Liebert Cassidy Whitmore. This compensation study is extremely important in building successful, equitable human resources programs. It's in regards to recruitment, compensation, training, development, performance management, and succession planning. Relevant legal compliant class descriptions are fundamental and essential building blocks of a reliable classification system. And it does become very tricky because, for historically, public sector employees are paid less than the private sector, but we've always had great benefits. And employees come here, they're looking to retire. Most private companies don't even have pension plans any longer, so the public sector would be a nice place for people to come. But unfortunately, we are having a lot of our lengthy service employees retire, and along with them goes their knowledge and experience. We are hiring a younger workforce that isn't made up of the same thought process to come to work for a public agency and remain until they retire. And they can come do a job and leave, go down the hill to Ukiah, go to the county, go anywhere they want to, and make more money. And since the younger generation, as you may have in your own when you were younger, you don't necessarily think about retirement. And it's becoming harder and harder to get qualified candidates. So, you really have to take a look at what you have to offer. And right now, Willits is the lowest paid employee labor force in all of Mendocino and all of the surrounding areas. Our biggest competitors are the city of Ukiah and the county. So, and the sheriff's department for the PD. We're just not able to effectively compete So we really need to take a look at what we have and see what we have to offer. HR Dynamics and Performance Management, they've got great experience, some really spectacular references, and yet they are cost effective. And one of the things that I want to do is take a look at those jobs that are in demand and see if we could be a little bit more competitive and, what is our agency's ability to pay. So it just takes time. It's not something that we can do here in the city internally. It is something that will take several months to do, and they have a lot of integrity in the business. And what we really need to do is come up with our philosophy of what it is that we're trying to look for, and from there take it step by step. It probably will take a couple of months, and as you know, we go into bargaining most likely in March of 2021, and we need to know what we have to offer our labor force. So by awarding this contract, I do believe that we'll be better situated to bargain with our union partners. The funds for this is $16,500. The cost for the compensation study are available in salary savings that have accrued year to date. When the budget was put together, all authorized positions were funded at 100% for the entirety of the fiscal year. But there is a significant salary savings since we do not have a full-time finance director, and we have some other positions that we have not filled. So we believe that we have the ability to afford this, and having the data is, again, imperative to preparing for negotiations, and we're seeking your approval.
Thank you, Karen. I see that there's a Ty or T. Johnson is he from this firm? And does he have, is that a?
Mr. Dusty, Mr. Johnson's here for the adoption of the multi-hazard mitigation plan.
Oh, okay. It just happened to be the same, sort of the same company name. Okay. So that's the proposal, and questions and comments from council members on this proposed $16,500 compensation study.
Question.
Jerry?
I guess it's a question for Karen. Even though we would be going into negotiations springtime or thereabouts, would this firm be available to assist you as we enter negotiations, even though it sounds like you'll still be getting data?
And I'm sorry, you're kind of fading in and out, so can I ask you to repeat that, please?
Would this firm be available to help you with the during negotiations, or is this something where they'll be gathering data until the fall?
Well, we hope that that will have been completed by then, because once the contract is agreed upon, then, and you provide your approval, they will start the process. So we're hoping to have the data by March. As to whether or not they'll be available for questions, I'm sure that would be the case. Although Stephanie would have to give me guidance on whether that would be something we would traditionally do, is go to this type of service vendor for that.
Yes, that's typical. What's nice to have is a salary survey sort of in hand before you start negotiations. The union usually, we share data because usually the unions do their own salary surveys as well. And then this particular, or the person representing us in terms of this firm would then, if a bargaining group were to contest any of the numbers, we actually have a professional saying, no, these are actually the numbers. And so it's important to sort of have a firm like this on board before you start negotiations. And that is the intent by doing this now. So we'll have this well in hand by March or April.
Other questions or comments? Sabrina? Yes? Go ahead.
I'm a little concerned and confused about the fact that we want to have this in again by March or April, because it appears that the assumption would be that we would be potentially increasing salaries then there at a period after which we receive the report. If we do the report now and we don't increase salaries and we wait until the end of this fiscal year and we decide to do it in the next fiscal year, the salary comparison could be, it could be obsolete information because a lot can change. So I'm really concerned that we would be even considering contracting out $16,500 when we have hardworking city staff that I was going to allocate funds. I would allocate one-time funds to help our staff actively working, or consider for staff that's actively working. I don't feel comfortable at all with subcontracting out $16,500. Like we're underpaying them. I'm aware that they need more. I just don't think that the timing of the item is appropriate. I think that I would find it more valuable if we had a budget meeting and we said, hey, this is something as a council, we recognize the problem and we want to, we're prepared to consider salary increases. Then that seems like the right time to do a study.
I very much appreciate your comments, Vice Mayor, and to that end, I think that we are comfortable with advising council of, and certainly our HR staff is very prepared to give you ballpark figures on how out of sync we are, which would enable you to make interim increases before negotiations if you so choose to do so. I think we are well in a position to do that and to make recommendations of that for the budget. The comprehensive salary survey will give you very precise information, but we can certainly do ballparks before then and well before then, and we actually already sort of have. I mean, we know ballpark, we are between 20 to 50% below our cohorts in Mendocino and Lake counties, certainly in our police force. The rest of the staff, we don't know. That's a little harder. It's a little hard to do comparisons because you have to match jobs. For police, it's not as hard to match jobs. The police officer is a police officer pretty much. Which makes it complicated is to compare benefits. Back in the day, benefits were hard to compare because everybody had a different CalPERS formula. In classic PERS, there were like 8 different CalPERS retirement formulas that you had to sort of crunch, and that's really no longer the case. So it makes it a little bit easier. Salary surveys actually used to be a lot more expensive because of the myriad differences of the CalPERS system. Now pretty much everybody in the city of Willits is PEPRA, which is a much reduced retirement plan. So really you're looking at comparing job titles and like what does a project manager do in Willits compared to a project manager somewhere else, and that sort of thing. And that takes time, and you also have to measure things like, you know, what kind of specialty pays and that sort of thing. But that does not, I do recommend that we do not wait for that study. If the council wants to do some interim pay increases, we do not have to wait for that.
Well, and the survey itself is quite complex. So it's not if you were to entertain salary increases now, they won't have completed the study by then. First you have to develop your philosophy, you have to look at the cities that you wish to use as your comparison, then you're at the mercy of those cities to provide the data. I know that there are other cities where we do share our information on a regular basis for salary surveys, but that's the internal. It's not what we're seeking, which is this comprehensive one. As Stephanie says, it does look at job descriptions. I'm going to use myself as an example. I've been working on a title for a year and a half, so I don't just do HR, I do payroll, I do other things, but yet under this one umbrella. And that's what they do. They take a look at what truly are the tasks that you do, what are those special pays, what are the benefits. It's very time intensive, and I am the only person in HR. It's not possible for me to do a total comparison, whether it be now or whether it be 6 months from now. The idea to have the information at our fingertips when we go into negotiations, whether it be May, April or May, you need to know what your city's ability is to pay, and whether or not we are even in the where we are in the marketplace, whether we want to remain at the low end, or do we want to be able to be competitive with any of the cities that are in Mendocino County.
As far as timing, if we did not approve it tonight, then the results wouldn't really be ready by, say, April, when we are going to want to actually negotiate what our pay scale would be in the future. Is that correct?
Good question, because it's again, we're going to be at the mercy of these other cities. And some of the other cities are in a much different place than we are in regards to demographics, economics. So, and they don't have the same bargaining time as we do as either. But it's not to say that if we wait until January to get approval, that we might still be able to have our results by April. It's really
Karen, I would like to just jump in for a second. Also, this is not a purely financial analysis, and so much of the analysis is not something that you need to have up to the date results. When you do sort of job description comparisons and the like, you can do that sort of first at any time, and then once you have them, what you get is a matrix. And you get a matrix of all the different job titles, and then it goes over for all the different comparator cities. And then once you have the matrix down, it becomes fairly easy to update wage data. And so just building the matrix, though, takes a lot of time. And so updating it isn't that hard. But we have no matrix. We have nothing right now. Does that help?
So, Sabrina, did you want to further question on that or not? We could hear from other council members.
No, I hear where you're coming from. For me, it's not a question of whether or not we want the data. I just feel like the timing of it. We haven't had a discussion about increasing salaries. There's work to be done before I feel it's appropriate to spend $16,500, especially considering our recent financial situation. It's not feeling logical to me.
True. I understand that sounds like a lot of money, and I'm not saying it's not. But we're not looking to increase salaries at the moment. This is something we really should be doing, every 4 to 5 years, with the exception of the PD, which is right around 6 years. We haven't done it well over 10. So
I understood that, Karen, but for me, even though the work won't be completed till later, you're asking us today to spend $16,500, and for me, that's the issue. Is today, is this a priority?
I understand. So with the savings, which is substantial, because we have contracted Andy Heath as our finance person. I mean, there's a substantial savings in that alone. Plus, there's other positions that were in the budget that we were not able to fill because of our low salaries. So when I spoke with Andy to make sure that the money was there in the budget, because I did not have it in the HR budget, I wanted to make sure that it was available, and he assured me that it was. So it's not though that the money itself wasn't there, but I do understand what you're saying. It's, you know, one additional expense.
I get that we're saving money in the budget, but keep in mind that we were also at the end of the fiscal year going to be in the negative. We were going to be in the red. So any cost savings that we have, particularly in this area and others, we could use to ensure that we don't close out the year in the negative. So we need to be very careful about how we spend our money.
Okay, so I'd like to hear from any other council members who have comments or questions, concerns to raise about this. Any other council members want to weigh in? Jerry.
I see the value where Karen is saying, but I also see where Sabrina is. I mean, we yet to get I kind of feel like the horse is coming before the cart. We haven't had Andy a presentation that we can present to the public as far as where we sit financially. We've gotten a briefing as part of a closed session, but a whole kind of piece of, not just piece of the pie, but the whole thing, so that the public has an opportunity to see what I think Sabrina is thinking, and I get where she's coming from. So you're saying, Karen, that this didn't pass today, but passed later, then probably wouldn't be, it's still doable what you need, is that correct?
That's correct. I brought it forward today because this was the last one of the year. But I think if what I hear Vice Mayor saying is that she wants to assure that what our footing is in the financial world, she needs to hear from Andy first. And so maybe this is something that I bring back in January.
Just a comment.
Mayor Strong, council member, this is Andy Heath.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Just wanted to chime in. I've been listening to the site, and I think Karen's doing a really good job kind of describing exactly what the situation is. You have a situation where the city is in dire need of a compensation survey. This compensation survey will allow you to benchmark your positions consistent with other, as mentioned, Mendocino County, Lake County cities with whom you compete for resources to provide services to your citizens. With that, they'll look at, as Karen mentioned, the entire compensation package, which includes pay, of course, but also the benefits. Many people pay a portion of the employer portion of PERS, and all things like that, health benefits, all of that is added in to this compensation survey so that your council can have a really good benchmark on what you're paying and maybe what you're not paying to really recruit good people who will come to your city. And because you pay well in conjunction with what other cities are paying, they'll stay with your city, which is more important. You have the recruitment and the retention tools. There is and there will be significant salary savings. You have police officer positions that are fully general funded. You have other positions in the city in different departments, parks, finance, that have been vacant throughout the year, which you will have salary savings. Also keep in mind that that Measure K did pass. And with the passage of Measure K, as previously discussed, your city will see approximately, conservatively, $300,000 in the coming year. Actually, this fiscal year 2021, to add to the budget. Given the COVID situation and everything else, yeah, we are in a deficit situation, but we're not in as much of a deficit situation. So, going into next year, however, you'll have a situation where you have a surplus, because you'll have $1.2 million coming in for Measure K as opposed to $300,000 for just one quarter this year. So knowing all that, and because this is such a good tool to have when you enter negotiations, I would also recommend, like Karen and Stephanie, that the city proceed with this tool. If you haven't had one done in a while, I think you'll see a lot, with the results. And with those results, you'll have what you need to make much better decisions as a council moving forward.
I have a question, I guess, of Stephanie. We mentioned earlier that we are going to probably have a special meeting for the budget, and would include amendments to this fiscal year's budget and the projections that we've been sort of dancing around and getting some preliminaries, and possible mid-year adjustments on a few things. Would it make sense to bring this 16,500 authorization to that special meeting? I mean, I think we need to do it so that we have the results when we go into full negotiations with the new fiscal year. But would it make more sense to bring this item to that special meeting? I don't know if it's a good idea to wait till January, because the firm may not be able to get results that fast. So the sooner we authorize it, the more likely we are to get results. So that's my question.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, this is Stephanie, and that certainly makes sense to me. I was hoping during this meeting we could decide on a date for a special meeting for the budget. Now that Andy's here and y'all are here, we could sort of land on a date for a special meeting for a budget.
What about, well, I guess it depends on when Andy's going to have all this information for us. Wednesday.
Well, I can probably have it ready, not next week, but certainly the week after, later in the week. And I have to look at my calendar real quick. I don't have it in front of me.
Later in the following week is Christmas time, so just
that's what I wanted to look at.
Not supposed
This is
to be.
Greta. Can I say something, Madge?
Absolutely. We haven't heard from everybody yet. Go ahead.
I would really appreciate no more meetings this month. I work retail, and this is hard. This is a really hard year. So if no more meetings in December could happen, I would be so grateful.
Okay. Do you have any question or comment about this particular item on the agenda?
I think Andy's description was fantastic, as well as Karen's, and I support it.
Okay. Other council members want to? Larry?
I heard everything you said, but I do not support it. Thank you.
Okay. Any members of the public want to comment on this item on the agenda? Seeing none, I think informally I'm hearing at least 2 no's, and I wonder if, how do you want to proceed? Stephanie, do you want to?
I think it's the idea of pushing it towards. I think we honestly think that we do need to adopt a budget before the end of the year, just because we do have sort of very old numbers at this point, because we have new numbers and we want to update council and the public on where we stand. So if we were to have a budget meeting before the end of the year, I think we should do it and try to adopt this item. That would be my recommendation. This of course is up to you, however. So
I have a question on that, and I guess especially to Greta. What about the week after Christmas? We could do it in that week between Christmas and New Year's, if people aren't traveling, because most of us aren't going to want to travel because of COVID. So, for example, Wednesday the 30th of December, or earlier that week, maybe the 28th, Monday the 28th. Would either of those dates work for our council members? Greta, do you want to? Hello?
I'm running on empty, Madge. I would just prefer no more meetings in December. That's all.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from Stephanie and Andy as well is that we might, there's somewhat of an urgency to looking at the updated numbers, and the numbers have been sort of moving around, and a lot of things kind of are hanging on that. So
Okay, but is 1 week in the last week of December significantly better than the first week in January? I mean, I just,
well,
I'm just asking for a reprieve, is all.
Okay, our first meeting in January on the agenda, a regular meeting isn't until the 13th of January. So that's, already mid-month.
Are we talking about a special meeting, though?
True. Well, other folks on the council, how about Larry? How do you feel about having a special meeting either in the last week of December or the first week of January?
It doesn't make any difference to me. I will have the same opinion of this whenever you go for it. Thank you.
Jerry, would you like to comment? No? Jerry, are you there?
Sorry. I would be open for the 6th of January. I can do a special meeting that day. But in light of, regarding this item though, because I was hoping that Andy would have a chance to speak regarding the budget as a whole to the public, but for something like this, I believe we do need to do a compensation study that's unbiased, that with good figures, and we obviously needs to go part and parcel with what the information that Andy's going to give us. But I would be willing to support this item today. That's only because Andy spoke. And I'm going to assume, Andy, that granted that salary savings and all of that, but obviously we're also paying out a lot in overtime too, so keep that in mind also. Is that correct?
Yeah, public safety, you're probably going to have some offset of the salary savings incurred in additional overtime, but in all non-public safety departments, I'm not sure you're going to have that situation.
Okay, so I would be willing to support this as far as this item.
All right, so what I'd like to do is go ahead and have a motion and second, if we can get a motion and second, on the item that's before us right now. If it doesn't pass, I would suggest we put it on a special meeting, and then we can talk about when that special meeting, we're going to have a special meeting anyway. So would someone like to make a motion on the current proposal to authorize this compensation study?
I will move to accept the staff recommendation.
Thank you for that. And Jerry has seconded that. Any comments from the public? Seeing none.
Hi there, yes. Brittany Ponnick-Barr, Willits Police Officers Association Treasurer.
Thank you.
Hi there, thank you. The Willits Police Officers Association absolutely supports the salary survey, particularly for our situation with the Willits Police Department and our current staffing. We would benefit from any current and relevant look at our competitors for any neighboring or comparative agencies. Particularly looking at the passage of Measure K, we're very enthusiastic and hopeful with the public support from Measure K that this is long overdue and very much needed for all of our employees at the police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? And in which case, Kathy, would you like to do the roll call on this motion?
I will. Thank you. Councilmember Stransky.
No.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Connie.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
No.
Mayor Strong.
Yes. Okay, so that passed by a 3-2 vote, so we can go ahead with a compensation study that we hope will be ready for us when we go in earnest on what's going to happen in the next fiscal year with our salaries. And in the meantime, it sounds like we still want to have a special meeting to look at our budget where we stand right now and consider any mid-year adjustments in this fiscal year. And so the proposals are possibly the week in between Christmas and New Year's, or the first week of January. If it's going to be the first week of January, that Wednesday is not good for me, I think, but I might be able to reschedule it. So can we do a doodle poll or whatever you call that to get opinions about those special meeting dates? Stephanie or somebody, can we do that?
I've never done one before, but I'll figure it out.
Maybe Kathy knows how to do it. It's worked for other agencies that I'm part of, and you give whatever the choices are. Okay, so then let's go ahead and do that by doodle poll. Otherwise, it's going to take a way long time. We've been meeting now for a little over 2 hours, and I'm wondering if we want to take a really short break, just like 5 minutes, and maybe don't leave the meeting, just go to the bathroom and get your cup of water or whatever, and come back in 5 minutes. All right, so we are reconvening after that short break. Thank you for making it a short break. That helps. We have a long agenda still. Okay, we are picking back up on item 9B, approval to apply and receive funds from State of California Department of Parks and Recreation per capita program. Is that a Dusty or a Stephanie item?
That is a Dusty item.
Dusty, are you there? Yay.
Yes, boss. Good evening, Council. Mayor Strong, Vice Mayor Rodriguez, congratulations. Dusty Dooley, your Community Development Director. Just very quickly, in preparation for this item tonight, you should have in your council packets the agenda summary, a resolution for your consideration, as well as attachment A, which is a potential project list to make use of the funding for, and then attachment B, which is a frequently asked questions handout that was developed by the grantor there. So just real quick, some background information on how we got here today. At the October 28th council meeting, staff presented the council with an opportunity for the city to seek up to $177,952 to support our parks and recreational facilities through this California Department of Parks and Recreation per capita program. At that meeting, staff presented a draft list of potential projects that would be eligible to make use of those funds available to the city. That draft list included improvements to our skate park, our dog park, ball field, soccer field, as well as the existing restrooms located on the property across the street from the sports complex and the skate park. I understand the property is commonly referred to as the carnival grounds. So we certainly did our best to try to spread the love or spread the funds around to the variety of facilities within our sports complex there. A recap of that meeting. At the October meeting, council requested that the draft project list be revised to remove some of the proposed improvements to the dog park, such as the benches, picnic table, pet waste receptacle, trash and recycle cans, I believe. Staff's understanding, and please correct me if my recollection is incorrect, but the thought was that these improvements could be recognized using local funds raised by our community members, similar to how we got the dog park that we left today. But staff understood that we would still include the $2,000 for what we were calling a dog play structure, some sort of amenities for the enjoyment of the dogs yet, but that amenities yet to be determined. But we do still have $2,000 in the draft project list to fund such an item. Staff also understood council support to install playground equipment at the sports field complex if there was remaining funds available after completing the improvements on our project list. I believe it was Vice Mayor Rodriguez that pointed to that improvement, and the idea was that we have some young ones that are there watching their siblings play sports, but get a little restless, and if we could put a playground in, that would give them something to do and stay out of trouble instead of climbing on fences and maybe doing something safe. So we did still capture that sentiment and recognize that. We further revised the project list based on some updated cost estimates. We brought this item forward at the October meeting. The main cost estimate that went a lot higher was the cost associated with upgrading the bathroom facility for the benefit of the users of the skate park, dog park, senior fields, and some of the special events we have, such as the carnival. Staff met with our contract building inspector, John Sherman, and based on his review, the cost estimate to complete the bathroom upgrade went from $53,000 previously all the way up to $80,000. Previously, we estimated that the contractor repair work and installation would be, quote, easily $30,000, and we were not wrong. After speaking with Mr. Sherman and Mr. Bowles, we've increased the labor cost to $45,000. We also increased the estimate for the roof upgrades from $5,000 to $10,000, and ADA, American Disability Act upgrades from $5,000 to $15,000. So that certainly was a significant increase in cost estimate for the bathroom facilities. But staff still felt that was an important upgrade to complete, and is still reflected on the updated project list. To support the increased cost estimate to upgrade the bathroom, staff removed a few items from the previous project list, including the trash recycle cans for the skate park, Little League, and soccer fields and skate park. That's not to say that we certainly aren't going to have those amenities or those improvements at those locations. It's just they won't be quite as fancy, I guess is how I would portray that. We also had to reduce the size of the shade canopy proposed for the soccer fields. Originally, we were hoping to purchase a shade canopy that would cover not only the existing bleachers at the soccer fields, but also the proposed new bleachers as well. So what's shown on the current project list reflects the smaller shade canopy, which would actually be the same exact canopy that's being proposed at the skate park as well. So after pricing out and making those revisions that I just discussed, there was still $2,350 left, and certainly the council can direct us to put those funds elsewhere. But we went ahead and proposed to compensate, mainly Jim and my time for grant administrative related costs. This grant does allow you to recoup staff time. Council may have noted that we do include reimbursement of public works staff time for taking on the installation and various tasks to fulfill some of these projects that we have identified. I believe it's a total of $5,600 that's being proposed to recoup public works staff time. And then if it pleased the council to include the $2,352 for grant administration, then we would have a $7,952 in total reimbursable staff time. So staff again is seeking concurrence from the council on the project list or direction to revise the list, as well as approval of a resolution authorizing staff to file an application with the grantor, the California Department of Parks and Recreation, in an amount not to exceed $177,952. And if awarded, authorize the city manager or designee to execute the standard contract. Just want to mention a couple of things. So again, this is a non-competitive grant series, and no matching funds are required, as the city is categorized as a severely disadvantaged community, which means the median household income is less than 60% of the statewide average. And the council member Stransky in particular asked staff to double check that fact. And since the last meeting, we did spend additional time confirming this fact. So we're in full confidence that there are no matching funds required for the city for this particular grant series. And I just want to finish by saying I very much appreciate the help of my colleagues Jim Robbins and Kenan O'Shea's help on this matter. And with that, Mayor, Kenan and I are available to answer any questions that the council has. Thank you.
Thank you, Dusty. All right, opening this up to questions from the council members. Anybody have a comment or question? Jerry.
Dusty, real quick. So basically, once get our approval, you'd submit this, and then how long before we hear back?
Good question. They have not told us an expected time as to when they would complete our review and disperse funds. But my guess is, or hope is, that they would disperse the funds before the summer months so that we have the funds in hand and can hopefully pull off the majority of these projects over the next summer.
Thank you. Other questions?
Yeah, this is Vice Mayor Rodriguez, and I would just like to express my gratitude to Dusty and those who worked on this grant application and for listening to input on some adjustments. And then also, in looking at it, I know that the dog park, based on Bretta's recommendations, had reductions which allowed for other improvements. So I want to acknowledge that willingness to help raise funds elsewhere so that we can make some of these other things happen. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other comments from council members?
This is Greta. I would just like to thank Dusty and Kenan and Jim. Just super excited about improvements to our parks. It will be so beneficial to so many in the community. And you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Any comments from the public or other folks? I am seeing none and hearing none. So I will entertain a motion.
Staff recommendation.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, staff.
I'll second.
And Greta seconded. So call for the vote, Kathy.
Councilmember Stransky.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Connie.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes. Thank you. Our next item is discussion and adoption, possible adoption of the 2020 Mendocino County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. That very hefty document that we had in our packet. And I believe Dusty will start out with that one.
It is certainly a lengthy document, but a very important one as well. As you mentioned, staff is requesting council approval of a resolution to adopt the 2020 Mendocino County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan. A little bit of background. The Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 requires local jurisdictions to have mitigation plans in place to mitigate all reasonably known hazards, such as flooding, earthquakes, and fire. Further, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, requires local governments to update their hazard mitigation plan every 5 years. Failure to update the plan limits the city's eligibility to receive pre- and post-disaster mitigation funds. So that's why I mentioned that this is a very important exercise and document to get adopted. The previous hazard mitigation plan was adopted by the city in December of 2014. According to the county, FEMA did grant a 1-year extension to the 5-year period, which gives us a deadline of December 2020, also known as right now, to adopt our plan. Again, the overarching goal of this plan is to assist local communities like ours with reducing risks by identifying vulnerabilities and developing strategies to lessen or eliminate the effects of potential hazards. So we're attempting to realize a more sustainable and disaster-resistant city of Willits. My take on what in part led to the passage of the act and the specific requirements to adopt a hazard mitigation plan is the federal government's recognition that pre-disaster mitigation will help minimize damage caused by natural disasters and therefore minimize costs associated with post-disaster cleanup and rebuilding. We understood that disasters often occur on a regional basis, and therefore it's appropriate to involve all the jurisdictions in our county and to take a collaborative approach when developing our hazard mitigation plan. It was the County of Mendocino who received mitigation funding to update the hazard mitigation plan, and they took the lead in developing the draft plan in front of you. This included hiring the consultants group Dynamic Planning and Science, of which we have Mr. Ty Johnson on the line with us tonight, and Atlas Planning Solutions, to assist the county and the other jurisdictions, including Willits, with developing the plan. I do want to note that this can be a living document, meaning the city can update the document periodically, add new mitigation measures, provide updated information such as new floodplain maps. So, this isn't just necessarily our only bite at the apple. So, with that said, if it pleases the mayor, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Ty Johnson with Dynamic Planning and Science to share some additional words, correct anything that I misspoke on, and then we can certainly be available to answer any questions that the council or public may have. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Hi, thanks, Dusty. That was very comprehensive. My name's Ty Johnson. I'm an associate planner with Dynamic Planning, and I've been working with Dusty and other participating jurisdictions in Mendocino County over the past 10 months to update the 2014 hazard mitigation plan. And we are here tonight to ask for council's approval of the Mendocino County hazard mitigation plan. Dusty did a real good job covering everything. I just want to emphasize that this plan has been reviewed by the public during October 13th through the 26th, and those comments have been addressed and incorporated into the plan that you see in your packet tonight. The plan is currently being reviewed by Cal OES and FEMA, and we have already incorporated some of their changes. They have not been substantive changes, and we don't expect that any future feedback will be substantive either. And because of the December 2020 deadline for FEMA and Cal OES approval, adoption of this hazard mitigation plan will happen during their review of the plan. And adoptions incorporate any edits made in response to Cal OES and FEMA feedback. So if we receive a little bit more feedback from FEMA and Cal OES, we will incorporate that, and if you choose to adopt this, you will be adopting those changes. As Dusty mentioned, a current and approved hazard mitigation plan is a prerequisite for jurisdictions wishing to pursue funding under FEMA's hazard mitigation assistance program. That's really all I had. Just wanted to keep it brief and be available to answer any questions. It is a very dense document, that volume 1, and then we do have an annex for Willits that is a little more easy to digest. And we do have a project webpage, mitigatehazards.com, and you'll see a Mendocino County logo that you can click on and explore all. We have really sophisticated mapping behind that project webpage that you all can use throughout the plan, and I would encourage you to explore that a little bit. You may run into a password protected page on the site, and the password is Mendocino 2020 with a capital M. And I'm available for any questions now or in the future too, if you all have any questions about the plan or the website or the project.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any other council? Is there anybody else who wants to present about this? No? So, council members, any questions or comments? Jerry?
No, actually, it's like they covered a lot. It's involved with the 2014 one, so I know what we're talking about here. So.
I did request at some point, not urgently, but just I would like to see the Willits section, and I think Dusty's going to make me a copy of that. So if other council members want to request that, just that Willits section, that can be arranged. So just ask Dusty.
I thought that was included in our packet.
Right, it is in the packet. It's just that it was hard to get to it, and I like having hard copy when I'm reading stuff like this. So it's not. Any other council members?
Yes, this is Larry.
Larry, yes, go ahead.
I think that it's a piece of work. I was one that got a hard copy of it, and it's really interesting to me. And I want to congratulate everybody that worked on this, because I think they did a really nice job. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Any members of the public? And Stephanie, you're unmuted. Did you want to say anything?
No, I just wanted to say that we did prepare that sort of a specialty section for you that was Willits, and I actually tried to drive by your house, but I couldn't find it. But I would be happy to print out copies for everybody and put them in their box.
Thank you. Any member of the public want to comment on this? And I'm sorry for those of you who might have been waiting for this, including Mr. Johnson, that it took us a long time to get to this item on the agenda, but this was an important meeting here. Okay, so seeing and hearing no other comments, I will ask for a motion. Jerry.
I'll move staff recommendations.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it, Larry.
I think Larry beat you this time, Sabrina. Okay, so we have a motion and second. Kathy, would you do the roll?
Councilmember Stransky.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Connie.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mayor Strong.
Yes. Thank you all, and thank you for that excellent report. The final item on staff recommendations is authorized purchase of 2 new police interceptor vehicles, specifically a 2021 Ford Explorer administrative trim and a 2021 Ford Explorer patrol model with equipment, in the amount not to exceed $118,545 from Redwood Ford of Ukiah through a lease purchase agreement.
That is actually going to be me, I guess, tonight. Good evening, Mayor and council members. This was actually, I was going to let Lieutenant Henry take this, but he had internet issues, and so unless he solved his internet issues, I guess I'm on tap. And there may be some technical police car terms, and I hope that Chief Lizarraga will help me out on that. Yes, these are the lieutenant has been working on the specs for these vehicles for some time, and we put it in our budget because we are in desperate need of vehicles because ours are sad. We worked with the Ukiah Ford to apparently they actually supply vehicles to the Sheriff's Department and other public agencies, and they deeply discount their vehicles, and they match any competitive bids. So, and then we are doing this through a lease purchase agreement that I'm not familiar with, but Andy Heath was, and he reviewed the staff report and gave me the thumbs up. This is a good way to go. And in 4 years, these vehicles will be ours. The first payment, I believe, is under $35,000, and we actually had budgeted somewhere in the neighborhood of about $60,000. I think we thought we were going to do a lease purchase. We just didn't know what the amount was going to be. So we will be under budget in our financing of these vehicles. And what we're seeking now is approval to go ahead with ordering them. The actual contract for these will come back to you because you need to approve a contract of this size, that you'll be approving the actual, that we go ahead and order them and go ahead with the purchase order. Again, there's one slick top and one patrol model, and Supervisor can probably correct me, but I believe that means one has lights on top and one doesn't. And they are both Explorers, but they're both called Interceptors because that's what they're called. Anyway, if anybody would like to jump in, I would welcome it. Pardon?
No, I was just saying, Interceptor is the name of the model that Ford assigns to it. And it just happens to be the police model that most agencies have been using and are continuing to use.
Thank you.
I see Jerry raising his hand, I believe. Jerry?
Just a quick question.
Oops, we're losing sound from you there.
Sorry. Did we get this on a piggyback bid where Sheriff's Department or put it out?
They're matching. What my understanding is the Sheriff's Department ordered a whole bunch of cars, and we got the same price, and which is really good.
Yeah, because I know that we can either bid it ourselves or jump on somebody else's bid, and I know that they put out the same bid. That's why I was curious.
Yeah, no, we're getting it at the same time, and therefore we're taking advantage of pricing that we never could have gotten with just two cars. So it's a good deal.
The question I had was just that this lease purchase, I think you sort of alluded to it, Stephanie. It's going to be, we're essentially leasing it for 4 years, and at the end of which time we basically paid for them. Is that so? It's instead of having the whole hit all at once, but it's not to our disadvantage to do it in those installments. Is that right?
According to our finance director, it is preferable to do it this way. And that's the way everybody does it, apparently. Pardon?
Yeah, this is Andy Heath again, and there's several advantages associated with the lease purchase program. Number one, it lets you spread out the payments over a certain period of time. Number two, it lets you not have to come up with a significant amount to buy multiple cars, in this case 2 cars, up front, and rather spread that cost out. Number three, it lets you really build in a program where you can replace your vehicles more frequently by having a sunk cost that's built into your budget, where that sunk cost would be an annual lease cost that is basically you're buying 1 car or 2 cars a year over a period of time, so that your fleet is always reliable. It's always safe. It has a minimal number of miles on it, so that it remains as maintenance free as possible. Because what you find is when you get into a situation where you have older cars, you're going to pay a significant amount in maintenance costs as you would just having another lease. So this will allow your police department to really get into a program, and I have worked with Lieutenant Hendry on a replacement program to looking at all the police vehicles, and we've come up with just a basic outline, at least preliminarily, on what this looks like. So we build in 2 vehicles a year, and this is just the start of that. But definitely, these cars will be the city's. The city can choose to keep these cars at the end of the lease term, or trade them in for another lease, which is what a lot of leasing companies have. So I think it's just the way to go, and so many jurisdictions around the state are doing this now.
And the $118,500 is the total cost over those 4 years.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions from council members?
This is Greta. I have a question, Madge.
Go ahead.
Andy, thank you so much for that information. We've never really, at least while I've been on the council, heard anything like that regarding a plan for the fleet, and it's something that I think has really been lacking. Is it possible to have that sort of discussion in the next budget session so that we can really, sort of have a map of where we're going and what we're trying to get to? I find that really helpful.
Absolutely. If I don't bring it back with the budget discussion that's going to happen in 2 or 3 weeks with the amended budget, I'll certainly, plan on bringing that back with your 21-22 budget that you'll be considering probably sometime in May or June. But yeah, I think it's important that the council understand that.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then one final question. I did notice in the staff report in the agenda packet that there was mention that there were several vehicles that were sort of, in the boneyards, let's say. Is there any thought to ditching those things, selling them for scrap, whatever we can do to squeeze something out of them, rather than sinking more money into repairs?
Well,
go ahead.
Well, I know that step one is we actually discussed swapping one vehicle out to somebody who's going to paint the outside, the emblems on it for us. So we're doing a little bit of a barter there, at least for one of our just cars that no longer runs. Perhaps the other officers on the line would like to fill us in.
So, this is our Chief Lazar. Chris or Brittany, you may have some more background info on that. I know that we're looking at not salvaging, but getting whatever equipment we need or is still working and operable in some of our older cars and taking them out. But and we're exploring possibilities of reselling them or seeing what we can get for them. Chris, Brittany, do you have any more background on that? You're both muted. Oh, there you go.
Chris is unmuted. Go ahead.
So a lot of our Crown Victorians that we have right now, some of them, the repair costs are worth more than the vehicle themselves in order to try to get them running and actually be serviceable. We're to the point now where we're gutting some of them to keep some of the other Crown Vics working, whether it be taking a light bar from one car to put on the other car or just a spotlight and putting it on the other car. So we're using what we have as best as we can to try to keep our patrol vehicles going. But essentially, if we do get these cars, it opens up to one brand new SUV and one older SUV to be used for patrol staff.
Thank you. Brittany, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you. Chris hit everything.
Okay, any other comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, hearing none, I would hear a motion.
This is Sabrina. I have a question first.
Okay, go ahead, Sabrina.
Having gone on an annual ride-along, there's no doubt that these vehicles are needed. I just want to make sure that I understand the numbers, just for clarification. It says in the summary of requests that there was $25,573 from the capital project fund, but then in the next paragraph it talks about how we've spent the budgeted amount for this fiscal year on vehicle repairs and still have 7 months to go. So does that mean that the $25,573 is gone, or that that's the balance of what was budgeted?
I believe that that's actually a separate line. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. They're two separate. The $25,000 that's available in the capital projects fund is appropriated there, and that funding is available. Then there's another amount that's available in your police narcotics fund. I believe it's Fund 651. I don't have it in front of me. That is also available. So you won't need all of that money, and I think there's between $50,000 and $60,000 in total that's available and appropriated. You won't need all that money up front in the first year, so you probably have pretty close to 2 years worth of payments that's appropriated this year. Any amount that remains appropriated and is unspent will just be carried over into the next budget year. So you basically have the next 2 budget years covered.
And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think Sabrina was asking also whether the repair amounts were coming out of these particular funds. It is my understanding, because I believe I have the same question, that was actually a separate budget line item.
Yeah, they're coming out of the general fund. So those costs are coming out of the general fund. So you should see costs in the general fund go down as a result of these leases.
Thank you, Stephanie. That was my question, but I still have one remaining. So So have we spent $25,573 on repairs this year, or is there remaining budgeted dollars?
I don't know how much is left in the repair line item. I think that, yeah.
Okay.
I'd have to look. We have to look that up.
We'll get back to that later. Either way, I'll be voting.
Okay. Any other comment or question?
I was going to make a motion to accept staff recommendation. I just want to point out that we've done lease purchases, no strangers to these. Bought them outright, and we've also done lease purchases. Staggered purchases over the years. It's just been our financial situation, I believe. It's probably prevented us from keeping up with that.
Okay, so moved by Jerry Gonzalez, and who would like to second?
Ms. Sabrina, I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Sabrina. And there were no further comments, so Kathy would please do a roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Stransky?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Connie?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mayor Strong?
Yes. Okay, we're on item 10 on our agenda. City Council Committee, Boards, and Agencies reports. Before we start on that, oh yes, Stephanie, did you?
I think we had some other departments who wanted to report out.
Oh, of course, yes, you're right. I forgot that.
It's okay.
So, do you want to introduce or department?
I believe if Kenan is on the line, Kenan O'Shea, our Public Works Superintendent, he did want to update you on the tree in Babcock Park.
Good, thank you. Kenan?
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. First, I wanted just to personally thank Ms. Stephanie for believing in me and her dedication to the city. I didn't get a chance to chime in earlier, and I'd be sad if I didn't just say a few words to thank her for everything she's done for us. And I'll keep it short and sweet. So I do want to talk about the tree, though. I provided an arborist report, and I sent it around. I'm not sure if everybody got a chance to review it, so please feel free to reach out to me if you did not, so I can make sure that you get a copy of it. We've got this tree. It's with great sadness, that I've had to turn your attention to the failing health of one of our long-standing iconic trees in Babcock Park that is in rapid decline. After a third arborist report and consulting several other experts in the field, we have come to the conclusion that the tree needs to be removed as it now poses a potential public safety issue. We are in the process of determining the best way to remove the tree and honor its life. It was once the town Christmas tree and has always been a prominent member of our urban canopy. The tree has been wavering for some time, and we have, kind of been patient, hoping that it would make a comeback, but unfortunately that doesn't look to be the case. There's a combination of poor soil drainage and oversaturation, and that's led to unhealthy roots that constrict their ability to uptake nutrients. The trees also have electrical conduit and abandoned holiday lighting that are grown into the trunk and branches. The hillside adjacent to the park was also heavily irrigated when it was Howard Hospital facility, and some of that irrigation still runs, so a lot of that water just sheets down the hill right into the flat plain of the park. The fountain that has been out of commission for a few years has several leaks that quickly drain it empty when operating. Fixing it is a project the city has yet to be able to afford in the last few financially lean years. That's not to say that we can't get it back online. It's just going to take some budget. And the tree is not. I'm looking into options of what to do with the tree because it's of such size and it is timber. Unfortunately, it's not a species typically sought after for timber, and it's not really marketed locally. So there isn't like a fixed price per board foot that log buyers are used to dealing with it in. So it's kind of a specialty, and it's a giant sequoia, not a normal coastal variety, so it's not typically the kind that we use around here for building projects and that sort of thing. It's about 10 feet or more at the diameter, so most local mills aren't really even set up for a tree that size. And we could explore the option, of having logs hauled and have them milled to try to make planks for benches or tables or something, but it probably wouldn't be very cost effective. And the lumber that we would get from the timber probably wouldn't last very long if we planked it out, because that tree grew really fast and the growth rings are probably really far apart. So the timber, selling it for logs really isn't going to be probably the best route money-wise from what I'm gathering. One thing that's in our favor and that I've been advised is that once we top it and limit, that it's not going to sucker out or try to regrow like a coastal redwood. So since it's a little resale value and the cost of removing the tree is not going to be cheap, we're looking at ways to offset the expense any way we can, but we still want to pay it respect. It's been with us for a long time and it's part of our community. And a lot of people grew up with that as their Christmas tree, so we don't want to just clear cut it and be done with it. We want to figure out something that kind of gives it justice, So I'm looking at, potential options, maybe leaving it at 20-foot length and having it carved. I know some chainsaw carvers may even be willing to take some of the wood generated from the removal for future carvings as partial payment for their service. Given the location, it could be carved into something appropriate that pays homage to our history and culture. I mean, it's right there where a lot of people come through town to go to the coast. So, I mean, I know art is subjective, and getting a majority to agree on a piece that is, that big and that high profile isn't an easy task. I know we've tried it before and it hasn't really worked out. But I would recommend maybe something simple and traditional. We're pricing the options and trying to get quotes for the removal, but there's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a big project. We're looking at a sizable cost, and I haven't even had a chance yet to really talk that over with Andy and see what we can do to budget it. But we're being recommended that we do something with it sooner than later, because it's dying from the top down pretty quick, and if we wait too long, we're not going to have any more options. Some of these carvers are pretty well renowned. I can look into their credentials, and a lot of them would take the wood probably in short lengths and even haul it away, so that they can continue their art, and then that might help fund at least the cost of the carving. And this was something that I talked to some local tree experts who own a tree company, and they recommended maybe having it carved. So I hadn't really thought of that yet. I'm not sure how well carving a tree that has roots in the ground, how long something like that would potentially last. But even if we got it carved for free and got 10, 15 years of art out of it, I'd be willing to take that on as a potential project and see if we can make that happen. I just kind of wanted to get this discussion going with council and see what your thoughts are and kind of test the waters, because the way we go about the bidding process to get this tree removed, the cost is going to fluctuate depending on what we decide to do with the logs and how we go about the cleanup. And I know Family Tree, that was someone I talked to just to get some preliminary cost estimates and just get a ballpark of what we're dealing with. They're the ones that kind of recommended the carving idea, and they stand behind it so much that they said that if there's further costs, if we decide to go the carving route, that they would even be willing to make a donation that would probably cover that offset. So we could potentially get the artwork done for free, or if not very low cost to us, just to kind of have something to hold on to once we lose that tree, because I know it's going to be a heartache for the community. I just kind of wanted to talk to council and kind of let you guys know what we're dealing with, and if you have any thoughts or direction, I'm certainly open to ideas.
Thank you, Kenan. So any comments from council members?
This is Councilmember Rodriguez. I think your idea is very creative. The only thing that I'd like to see, Kenan, before we make a formal decision on this, is reach out to the community a little more. I know that we did an article, but I know that there were some people that came and spoke at city council meetings, Tamara, and a few others, and I would just be interested in just acknowledging that they've had an opportunity for input and then move forward.
Thank you, Sabrina. Other comments from council members? Jerry, go ahead.
I wanted to echo what Sabrina said, but I also wanted to thank Kenyon.
We're losing your audio again.
Sorry. I wanted to agree with Sabrina and but also acknowledge Kenyon for all the work he's put in. It sounds like he's put a lot of thought in.
I just want to mention that the Arts Center, year or so ago, there was some proposal about a wood sculpture, statue, whatever, in City Park, and there was some controversy about that. But they might have some leads on people that would be interested in participating in a proposal like you're suggesting, and I think it's a good idea, and it's going to be a trick because art is always controversial, seems like. But I think the Art Center might have some leads for you. Any other comments from?
This is Stephanie. I think I have heard from Kenan that the first step before we decide whether or not we what we want to do with the stump is there a decision that needs to be made regarding topping the tree, or at least beginning the process of taking it down? I know you did get a price to take it down, at least partially, and it was quite high, and it might be something we need to get some bids on. Perhaps council would like to give some guidance on that.
Yeah, we don't have that before us as an agenda item, so if there is going to be a proposal to do an interim topping or something to make it less risky in the meantime while we decide what else we're going to do, we need to have
I guess what I'm asking, would you like us to move forward with doing a staff report on removing the tree, at least partially?
I think we probably should, and do some kind of, in order to do an RFP, you have to have a council decision on that?
No, we can get 3 quotes, but I think that it would be good if council, we do have the determination that the tree is a hazard. We do need to bring it down. If you would like us to simply go ahead and do that, we can, and leave a stump, or give us some guidance on sort of where to go next. And we would like to put a staff report in front of you. What kind of things would you like to see in that staff report?
I'd like direction that you bring in a staff report before us about taking the top off.
I would echo that.
Okay.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I will proceed, and I'll get more accurate information before review.
Okay, and some quotes would be good, some alternative quotes, because that might be, Okay, great. Thank you, Kenan. Any other staff departments that want to weigh in on any information for the council tonight? No?
I would.
Kathy?
Hello, all. I would just like to welcome all of you to your new positions between the city manager and all the council members and their changing of the throne, so to speak, and to thank Jerry for his leadership this past year. I've really appreciated that. I'd also like to tell Stephanie that we will miss her, and it's been great working with her, and we all are going to miss everything about her, and we appreciate her allowing us to grow in our positions over the last 3 years. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on this, that's it for no other departments? Great. I wanted to say at the beginning here of item 10 that I would like to find out which council members would like to either continue in the boards or committees that they currently serve in, or have interest in other positions, agencies, and so forth. Now that I'm mayor, I might want to change my other duties a bit. So the ones that I'm on are sort of up for grabs, which is EDFC and the Mendocino Solid Waste Management, and potentially the, right now I've been the alternate for Sonoma Clean Power, but I believe Willits might be in line to have the main designee to the Sonoma Clean Power. So those are 3 positions that I'll have to figure out which ones I can manage. Could all of the council members get like an email to me with their preferred agencies and whatnot? I appreciate that people are doing actually a lot of extra work besides our council meetings.
Mayor's appointments.
Maybe not. Well,
I'm sorry. Mayor's appointments will be something that we also bring forward at the first meeting in January. So the sooner that you guys can get to Mayor Strong, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so that said, other reports from those various committees and agencies. How about we go start with Jerry and work our way through everybody.
LAFCO met, and I think we basically put off, I guess, a policies and procedures issue that is going to try and settle. It's ironic that the 2 Board of Supervisor members of the LAFCO board will still be on there at the first meeting in January. That's just how it's going to work out so that we can finish up some policy issues. And so that's really the highlight of that. And then I still have another year to go on my LAFCO appointment. So I was going to say the detail of that a bit. And this League of Cities has not met. So that's all I've got.
Okay, how about Larry Stransky? Do you want to report in?
Yes, we had a MCOG meeting and got set up for next year in February. It's the first meeting, and I've already gone to the person that told me that they would like to take it, and she said she would take it, and that's Greta.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, Greta was going to be next on my roll call here.
Museum Advisory Board meeting met, and basically the museum is working to find ways to work on their collection while the museum is closed to visitors. They're doing their best to archive and to work towards a digital program so that people will be able to access the research library as well as the curated items even during a shutdown. So a lot of work happening at the museum behind closed doors.
Okay, thank you. Sabrina.
MTA met today at 1:30. We had a short agenda for open session. We discussed the future purchase of different types of energy alternatives. We talked about the VW settlement that MTA is hoping to be awarded here in the next couple of months so that we can purchase an electric vehicle over the course of the next year. And most of our discussion, Bill, in closed session, we're discussing the process for evaluation of our interim executive director. I serve currently as the MTA chair. I was appointed in January to a 2-year term as chair. So that's something I'm hoping will take into consideration.
Okay. That's important. Okay, and I also already mentioned EDFC, the Economic Development and Financing Corporation, is meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2. Things are going along with a lot of, they're processing quite a few loans and trying to coordinate with other agencies, and we still have an interim general manager, so I think that's being discussed by the executive committee, what the future is for the general manager of EDFC. Mendocino Solid Waste Management, or otherwise known as Mendo Recycle, met in November, and they're dealing with a lot of kind of surge in household hazardous waste coming in, partly because of COVID. Apparently everybody's cleaning house and yard and whatnot, staying at home. But they've managed, they've kind of set up a reservation system in Fort Bragg and Point Arena, which were where the most difficult pickups were, because they only have so much room in the trucks, and they were getting too many people coming. And that seems to be working so that they're able to keep up with the demand. And we're not going to meet, the solid waste management won't be meeting in December, but we'll be meeting again in January. And then Sonoma Clean Power, I only go occasionally when the main representative isn't able to, and I happened to go this last time, which was December 3rd, and a couple things that were of interest. One of them is that they have free trainings for contractors. So especially for solar contractors or anything related to energy efficiency contracting, Sonoma Clean Power is offering free trainings for those people in those trades. So if there's anybody out there interested in that, please get in touch with Sonoma Clean Power. There's a lot going on with PG&E and rates and statewide, Public Utility Commission regulations. That there always seems to be a lot going on with that, and legislation at the state level. The other very interesting item that came up is that Sonoma Clean Power is one of a number of community choice aggregates, which basically provide the power that then goes through PG&E lines to the customers. And there is now a proposal for a joint powers authority or agency of CCAs that would include, I think, something like 15 different community choice aggregates. And Sonoma Clean Power is potentially one of the ones that would come in early on that. That was discussed at some length, but the decision by Sonoma Clean Power on that is going to come in January. It seems that this kind of joint authority would have a lot more buying power and could get better deals for the kinds of energy that are mostly alternative energies, trying to avoid fossil fuels, and that gives the agency a potential to kind of broaden and get better deals on those kinds of power sources. It turns out that CCAs, those community choice aggregates, represent about a total of 1/2 of the same volume of what PG&E provides. So they are a big player in state energy needs, providing about 1/2 of the same volume that PG&E does. That was the main stuff on Sonoma Clean Power. Are there any other agencies or boards that we didn't get to? If not, we'll move to council member reports and recommendations. Are there any of those? And seeing none, any good and welfare? Things going on in the community that we all should know about? Yeah, Jerry.
I just want to point out the senior center is still selling See's candy as a fundraiser, and so if you need some Christmas gifts, they're available. Looks like they've got their Christmas shop open down there now. Obviously, I was down there, and it looks like they're practicing all the COVID rules and not shopping and all that. And I think Rotary's still doing the Christmas tree program thing and looking for toy donations. So see some of those. Got a lot of drop-off points in town. So
Great. Any other good and welfare announcements to make? Anybody?
Yes, this is Greta.
Greta, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I reached out also to the Senior Center recently and to the food bank to see how they're doing during all of this. I'd had some discussions with both of those entities early on during the pandemic, and Mr. Baker, of the director of the Senior Center, pointed out that their organization had done roughly 350 drive-through Thanksgiving dinners for members of our community and delivered an additional 125 meals. So although they've been struggling with fewer volunteers than ever because many of their volunteers are staying home to stay safe, they are still doing an extraordinary job helping feed our community and helping take care of seniors and underprivileged folks in our town. So I just wanted to give a giant shout out to the staff and continuing volunteers at the Willits Senior Center for going above and beyond for our community during a really difficult year.
Thank you, Greta. That's wonderful news and thank you so much for reporting on that. Anybody looking for a worthy cause to either donate or volunteer, that's a really good one. And the food bank, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've had a message shop local. We've had a message of shop local, and I just want to acknowledge all those people who are out shopping local. Thank people than ever, constantly choosing to shop local to support small business and keep their tax dollars local. So, shout out of appreciation to them.
Thank you, Sabrina. I agree. So we do have 2 closed session items that we added to the agenda, and I believe I need to go make sure I can find that. We have to go close this meeting and then open the closed session. And Kathy,
can I suggest one? Yeah, can I suggest one thing? When we go into closed sessions, can we do the one with Jim Lance first? That way he can get off.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good idea. I am not sure that I can find the right link. So, Kathy, if you could shoot me an email to my Willits Online one real quick. Let's just take a couple minutes and then go into the closed session. And I'm closing the open meeting now at 9:45. Okay, are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Mayor Strong reporting out from closed session that we gave direction to staff to give an immediate 10% raise to the police department, which includes dispatch and officers and CSO and all of those positions, and also offer a $2,000 signing fee, what do you call it, bonus to anybody, to new recruits who sign on. And that will be effective immediately. We will consider other staff compensation when we get back to budget time.
Okay.
And also, Stephanie, the police chief, and I will issue a press release probably tomorrow.
Sounds great. So we'll end this meeting at 11:08.
Yes.